So there's a great processes in the library that are useful in this respect. There's one on customer complaints. Now, a lot of times, larger companies will have some other kind of CRM or something that's got complaint forms in it with tickets and stuff like that that they can use. But a lot of smaller companies don't. Whether you do have something like this already or you don't at all, still having the documentation for how it runs inside a Touchstone is important. So even if you have the automation behind this in your CRM or in a customer relationship management system or software that you have, the how to do that is what happens in Touchstone. The how the automation occurs, when to do it, where to fill it out. Having said that, if you don't have anything like that and you're still having to deal with customer complaints and customer issues, then having some kind of system like what I'm about to show you directly out of the library could be really useful to you. So when you download this from the library, it's going to have a lot of tools in it, and the first thing about any library process is that you want to look through it and decide what you can glean from this and use and what may not work for you at all. So here's the first work plan, and kind of just gives, a step-by-step of a typical customer complaint process. So information on how to handle a complaint well. There's another example down here. So this is another type of element of the process. You may decide you want to start with this one and not use this one at all. In that case, you delete it. Once I delete this, it's gone from this process, but I can go back to the library and get it if I want. So the point I'm making about the library process is a lot of times we'll give you different examples. Choose the one that's going to work for you and get rid of the rest so it's not cluttering up your system with things that you're not going to use. So step-by-step for handling a customer complaint. Listen to the customer's complaint. Be calm and respectful. Show understanding of the customer's situation. Use the backbone of this is some kind of a complaint form, some kind of a way of documenting what's happening in the series of tasks that the person's going through. That's why forms or uploaded files are usually sometimes key features inside of processes, because it's collecting information based on the process, holding it somewhere, and allowing someone else to use it. That's what a form does that you filled out typically, or a spreadsheet. So you would go through and think about how complaints happen in your business. How do you hear about them? What's the first thing that you do? Checklists in a complaint process, I think, are fabulous from a management point of view. So this is a verification that I'm handling this complaint, what I've done to handle it. I listened to them. I heard what they were saying, and I put it into the form, which is down here. I located their invoice. I verified all this information. I followed the process to decide if it was resolved within 24 hours. So think about, this may not work perfectly for you right now, but the idea of it is that you customize it to kind of make it your own. When a customer complains, it's an opportunity for your business to do something different. We're all going to have customers where people are being unreasonable. So throw those out the window and think, this is an opportunity for us to do something better. This is always an indication of there's another process perhaps in the company that isn't working well or could work better. Whether it just be our communication of what we do and how we do it so that the customers understand that clearly, or we may have made a mistake. So documenting this type of process and getting it to a place where you can handle and come up with solutions for your customers is going to help your client retention. It's going to help your word of mouth and referral. It's going to make your business a better place. It's going to educate your employees. So when you look at this library process, if you think to yourself, this is great, but this just doesn't work, this isn't the way we do it, don't let that stop you. Go in and edit it. If this work plan doesn't work at all for you or this checklist, then delete it and build your own. The idea is that you have a customer complaint process. So here's the checklist verification. Customer complaint processes usually have scripts, something like this. So this is educating the employee on how to talk to the customer. a lot of times if your employees can talk to the customer and really hear them, you don't even have to do anything. It's just a matter of them being heard about what the issue is. And there may not be anything that you can do right away. And then there are forms down here. This is an action form. So this has got sections, who it's routed to, what came in, what the result was. This is another more simple version of a form. Complaint came in, what invoice or work order is related to, who's the customer, what was the solution. Over here, I'm about to show you how you can use something like this in Touchstone. So the documentation is all here. We've talked about these two tools and how to document and use those tools to document a process. But also in Touchstone, you have the ability to fill out checklists and fill out forms and follow work plans and save all that information back to Touchstone. So this right here is the login for a user to my demo account. So this is what a user would look like when they log into Touchstone. She's seeing this customer support position, which she's the customer support person. She selects customer support, goes to the customer complaints process. Now here's all that documentation we were just looking at, but it's in this control panel view. So I'd go to the checklist and call it up. This is Sam Smith. This is the customer. I have it open as I'm going through it. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So I check this off as I do it. The minute I save it, it date and time stamps it and saves it back to Touchstone. Now this checklist is saved right here in this completed folder. I can go down to a form, like the customer service action form. Fill it out. This is Sam here again, and I'm going to go down and fill this out for him. These fields are all live at this point. So this is his name. I'm going to put it in here. So I'm documenting the situation, not just listening and making random Post-it notes that I'm going to call and tell my manager about, and then hopefully they remember it right and do something. This is putting down the details of the conversation, of the information, so that it can get turned around in some way. Either I've handled it or it needs to go on to another person to handle. Save it back to Touchstone. So these items by this employee are being used and saved back to Touchstone. If she just wants to remind herself of what to do before she even calls the client, she can go here to the work plan and review it. Look at it. Here's the form. Okay, I'm going to go to the form now, fill out the form, save it back to Touchstone. So the employee is using this process. And I just wanted to show you, we're going to talk a lot more about the control panel and management review in the next few sessions, but this is just how to start to use it inside of Touchstone. Now I'm going back to, this is my original demo account, and here I see my customer support person down here in management review. So I may have got a message from Sally that there was a complaint that she handled or needed my attention, and she could do that right here through the message center. Or I could run a report here and call up her name and say, there's Sally, give me all the customer service forms that she filled out. I can search for the save as if I want to look for Sam's name. And then here it is. So I see the complaint checklist and the forms that she's filled out for this particular client. So the idea of this process is have some kind of customer complaint resolution process. The benefit is your customers will stay happy and your retention will be increased, but also you'll be able to learn what more the business can do to enhance your services, to make it better. But all of it needs to be documented in some organized way that it can be referred back to later. If these complaints just at least got documented in forms by Sally here, at the end of the month, I, as the manager of operations or manager of marketing and sales, could run a report, sit down and look at all these forms and just say, what are we doing wrong here and how can we do it better? Next week, we're going to be finishing up our conversation on the process tools. So I'm going to talk about the rest of them, basically. How and when to use scripts, uploaded files, forms, policy notes, audio, videos. We'll finish out that conversation of how to use the rest of the documentation.